Gamers, welcome in. My name is Kylabai and welcome to another build video. This time I have a PvP Nightblade that's specifically designed for Battlegrounds. This build has hints of a ganking playstyle but with a bit of a twist. It's able to unleash devastating damage to small groups, especially if you can get a teammate or two to synchronize the burst with. If you want the short version of this build, then check out my 1-minute build version. I'll leave the link to that in the description. But if you want all the in-depth details, then stay right here. So let's get into it. Okay, so here we go. We got a Battlegrounds Nightblade build. This is a really fun build to play. It's kind of like a ganking playstyle, but its primary focus is to take out small groups. So I thought it would be perfect for Battlegrounds, so I've built it specifically with Battlegrounds in mind. Because in Battlegrounds it's more of a controlled environment and you find the small groups everywhere. So here are the stats. I'm probably not going to go talk about them too much because it's going to be very different when you're in Battlegrounds with, you know, there's no CP or anything like that, and, you know, so they're there to look at. The main things we need to look at though is we got 37 points into Magicka, 27 into health. We are an Orc for the extra damage and movement speed, which is very helpful on this build. We are going for the Thief Munderstone for extra critical. You probably could change this. I found it okay like that. It's not too bad. We're using the smoked bear haunch food, very expensive food again, but it gives you max health, health recovery, and then stamina and magicka recovery. Because we're using a lot of stamina and magicka skills on this build, it's nice to have the recoveries in both. See, they're looking pretty solid. And then we are a stage 2 vampire. The reason we are stage 2 is so we can get the Strike from Shadows passive, where when you leave sneak, which we have on this build, you get extra 300 weapon damage. You can go stage 3 for the Undeath passive to reduce your damage taken, but we do get a few sustain issues if we do that, because your skills start costing a bit too much. So I prefer having stage 2. Okay, moving on to the sets. This is a very weird setup. Like I said earlier, it's primarily focused to take down small groups. So it's all about dragging a small group of players towards you and then stunning them and exploding them all at once. And this works great in Battlegrounds because usually people are all stood together anyway. You know, like they're either all on the Chaos Ball, so you can jump in, or they're all on a flag in Domination, or they're all on a relic, so you could just jump into them and do the maximum damage. So the first set we're using is Rushing Agony, or Rush of Agony, which gives you stamina recovery, weapon and spell damage, penetration, and then when you deal direct damage with a blink, charge, leap, teleport, or pull ability, you pull enemies within 10 meters to you. After 2 seconds, you deal 8,000 physical damage to all enemies within 7 meters. It does not scale. Sorry, it doesn't stun or cause crowd control, and it scales off your weapon and spell damage. So this is great because you'll come up against an enemy group, you'll jump in, you pull them all towards you, and then we use Lotus Fan as a gap closer, so that's a leap or teleport ability. Pull them all towards you, and then we hit them with the ultimate of Soul Tether, which stuns them. And then when they are stunned, they get hit by the physical damage explosion and the damage that comes with the ultimate and some other damage we've got going on as well. So it's all about dragging them all towards you and then blowing them up in one big go, and it works like a treat. It's so great. I've been trying to use this set for a while, and I think I found a good balance now. So this is a medium set. We have this on 5 body pieces. The chest, belt, feet, legs, and hands. So that's the first set we're using. Paired with that, we are using Plague Break. So this got a nerf a couple of patches ago, but in this situation it still works an absolute dream. It gives you penetration, damage, and then dealing direct damage causes enemies to become a plague carrier, dealing disease damage over 10 seconds and applying the disease status effect. If the plague is removed early, it explodes, dealing more disease damage to all enemies within 8 meters, increasing by 50% per enemy hit. So this is great because when we leap in and drag everybody towards us with Rushing Agony, we can then hit everybody and inflict them and make them become a plague carrier, which does more damage, and then we stun them, and then we get the explosion from Rushing Agony. And the key thing here is, if the plague is removed early, it explodes, so that counts if they die. So if they purify it, it explodes, or if they die, it explodes. So if one person dies in the group that you drag towards you, they all get exploded as well. So this is like a huge amount of damage that we all get coming at pretty much the same time, and it's very hard for them to survive. So we got this on a sword and mace. I've got a Nirnhunge sword and a sharpened mace, and then 3 jewelry as well. So that's the 5-piece on the body, and then we have a 5-piece on the jewelry and front bar weapons, and then on the back bar we've gone for the Vadashran, which if we have momentum active, it increases our weapon and spell damage, and then if we use increases our weapon and spell damage if we use stamina skills, and then we can do an explosion. So if we can get this into the mix as well by heavy attacking at some point and doing that explosion whilst all the other explosions are going off, you know, the more the merrier. So we have that on the back bar, and then we're using the Stormfist monster set. Now I just tested this out. I didn't think it would work, but it kind of does. I don't know if maybe having something else here might be better, but I've really been enjoying this. I really like the animation to it as well. It gives you recovery, and then when you deal damage, you have a 10% chance to create a Thunder Fist to crush an enemy, dealing shock damage every second for 3 seconds within 4 meters, and then on the final, it does a huge amount of physical damage when the fist closes. So we have this on a heavy helmet and a medium shoulder. I found that when I drag people in and then stun them, they get stuck there, and then the fist comes out and grabs them as well. So it just does an extra load of physical damage. I've been wanting to use this set for a while, but it never really works in PvP because, you know, people can just move out of the way. But if you get it so you can drag them all into one spot and then stun them, if they're not quick enough at breaking free and getting out of the way, they're going to get hit by this too. So it works like a charm. So that's all the gear. So we got the monster set Stormfist, 5-piece Rushing Agony, 5-piece Plague Break on the front bar, and then Vadashran on the back bar. That means we're running 6 medium and 1 heavy. And then we've got some reinforced on 2 of the big pieces, and then some impen and well fitted, and 1 divines, but I don't think that matters too much. You could put another impen on it or another well fitted if you wanted. And then on the jewelry, we've got infused weapon damage, infused magicka recovery, and then robust magicka recovery. I tried to put more damage on, but we kept running out of magicka. So it's nice. We got more than enough damage on this build. Saying it, there's always in Battlegrounds specifically, there's so many different situations that you run into where this, you know, it just works a treat. You know, if people are stood on flags or around the Chaos Ball, you know, usually in Battlegrounds specifically, groups are much closer than it would be in Cyrodiil. Cyrodiil's a bit, you know, chaotic. So it works so well in Battlegrounds. Okay, time to show you the skills. Here we go. On the front bar, we have Whirling Blades. Launch yourself into a lethal spin, dealing physical damage, and then does 100% more if enemies have less than 50% health. This is great because you drag them in, and then you just start spinning. And after the Stormfist, the explosion, the Rushing Agony explosion, the Plague Break explosion, and you spinning, you know, it's a blender. Nobody's surviving that. Lotus Fan, this is our gap closer. This is what's going to proc our Rushing Agony. Flash through the shadows, dealing magic damage. After teleporting, you deal damage over time as well. We went with the Lotus Fan morph because it inflicts minor vulnerability, increasing their damage taken by 5%. So the person you hit with Lotus Fan, it would drag everybody else in around you, thanks to Rush of Agony. But the person you hit will take 5% extra damage as well, so can't go wrong with that. We've gone for Shadowy Disguise. So this is what we use before we then jump in, because your next direct damage attack used within 3 seconds will always crit. So we proc this and then jump in and then start spinning. I've got Concealed Weapon on. I don't use this too often. It's good for like a single target damage, if you don't want to like spin to win, because it costs magicka rather than stamina. Sets them off balance. We use it mainly though because when you leave sneak, you increase your damage done, and you get minor expedition for having it slotted as well. So it's very handy. It's a very handy skill to just have slotted. And then we have Blinding Flare just for the mage protection, just to keep us safe when we're spinning in the middle of all these people we drag in. And then the ultimate is Soul Tether. This does a huge amount of damage, and it heals you. A huge amount of damage to people who you dragged in, thanks to Rush of Agony. Yeah, so that's the go-to ultimate you want for this one. And then on the back part, we have Shadowy Image. This lets you put down a shade, which will shoot at people, but we don't use it for that. We use it to teleport out of there after we've done our burst. So we'll put this down, we'll jump in using Lotus Fan, and then when we've done the explosion and everything we want, we activate this again and it will teleport us out of there. So it's nice and handy to have. Race Against Time. This increases our crit damage and our movement speed and removes snares and immobilizations. It's an absolute lifesaver. And then this is the skill I love for this build. Proximity Detonation. Activate a magical bomb on yourself that explodes after 8 seconds, dealing magic damage to all enemies in the area. Each enemy within the bomb's radius increases the damage by 100%. So, we proc this, go stealth, jump in, spin, and then this explodes, and Rush of Agony explodes, and Vadashran explodes, and Stormfist explodes, and yeah, it's just absolute chaos. It blows people up. Fantastic. We got Shrewd Offering as our heal. I did try Vigor, but it's better to have this as a burst heal. Very nice to have. And then Rally. This is proccing our Vadashran and giving us minor endurance and a heal as well. And then we're going Temporal Guard on the back bar, just for the minor protection. Don't really use it, just have it for slotted. Okay, so I'll show you a bit what I'm talking about. First of all, I'll show you Rush of Agony. If you just jump in with Lotus Fan, you'll see the chains come out. And then it explodes. And you spin. So, what we do is we buff up. We put down our shade. We use Proximity Detonation. And then we kind of wait a couple of seconds because, 8 seconds is a long time. We kind of want to time it so all our burst goes together. So what we do is we'll put it down. Then I'll switch to this bar. I'll go into shade. I will jump in. I will ult and spin. But of course I did it too early there. But if you get everything blown up at the same time, it can be absolutely devastating. It just takes a little bit of practice. You want to go stealth beforehand to proc the vampire. Jump in. Spin, and everything explodes at once. And that was without the ultimate. So there you go. Like, the amount of bursts you can get in, like, within a 1 or 2 second time window is absolutely crazy. And especially if you've got your team jumping on them as well and doing damage. If you just kill one, the Plague Break procs and kills everybody. Yeah, and it's absolutely devastating. So there you go, that's the build. I don't even need to talk through champ points. I haven't even looked at them. I barely even used this build in Cyrodiil because it just, it's very situational, but that's why it's so perfect in Battlegrounds. And it's so much fun to play, blowing everybody up in one go. It's an absolute blast. So there you go. Thanks for watching, everybody. And that's the build. Thank you so much for watching. This build is a joy to play in Battlegrounds. It's definitely off meta, but with a way higher enjoyment potential, which sounds like a good trade to me. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed watching, and remember to leave a comment if you can see any changes or improvements you would make. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.